Welcome to Second 50. Today's stretch is called seated pigeon. And this is a variation of a stretch that we did in the mobility video series. It's a little less intense than that one, so it might be a little more accessible for some people. But it's a stretch that has its focus on the glutes and hamstrings, and also on some lateral rotation of the hip. So it's a nice stretch that covers a couple different areas. So let's get right into it. What we're going to do, you're going to need a stool or a chair for this one. And if you're sitting in a chair, sit just a little bit forward so the back of the chair isn't touching your back. And the way this works is you're going to bring your, let's start with our right leg, bring your right leg up and put it so that your right ankle clicks right in on top of your left knee. And you notice when I bring my leg up, I'm going to hold my right knee and my right ankle so that I'm not putting any leverage on the knee. So just gently bring that knee up, bring it over, and notch it on top of your left knee. Ideally, you want your ankle right below your knee, but for some of you, it may be difficult to do that. You may be not flexible enough to do that. So it's fine if you need to put that left leg out a little bit and then bring your right leg up and notch it in like that. The ideal position for this is going to be ankle under knee, right ankle notched over the top there, and then your right knee might be up like this. That's perfectly fine. Once you feel the stretch, you're going to feel both a stretch back here in your butt and in your hamstrings, and you're also going to feel some of that rotation in your hip, so it may be a little uncomfortable. Perfectly fine to keep your knee up like this, or as I say, to have your foot out. But what you want to work toward is having that ankle underneath the knee, and then having your knee in this position. If you're comfortable in this position, you can let that right knee float down until you start feeling the stretch. Remember, we're looking for about a 7 out of 10 intensity on these stretches. Let that right knee float down. If you're comfortable with that, and only if you're comfortable with that, you can lean forward just a little bit, and you can bring your chest out forward. Don't hunch your back over forward. Bring your chest out forward. And if that's comfortable for you, you can actually put your elbows down, your right elbow on the right knee, left elbow on the left ankle. You stay there. I'm going to start the timer. Bring my knee up, down, get in position, and then just let that right knee float down to the level that you're comfortable. I'll turn this way to face you as we're talking here. We're going to hold this stretch for 3 minutes, primarily because, I don't want this video to go on forever. We like to hold these long hold passive stretches for anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes. I would typically hold a stretch like this for anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes on each side. We're going to do both sides. So we're in the stretch now. You are leaning forward to the degree you're comfortable. Some of you are sitting up like this. You may be a little bit bent or twisted. Don't worry about that. You want to keep your balance here so you don't fall off your stool or your chair, bench, whatever you're sitting on. Okay, this stretch, seated pigeon, is a sister stretch. There's probably 4 or 5 different variations of these pigeon stretches. All of them have to do with this hip rotation in one form or another. And this one's a little less intense, as I said, than the one we did in the hip mobility challenge. It's a particularly nice stretch because you can do it really easily. You can do it if you're on the phone. You can do it if you're reading a book. You can do it anytime during the day that you're just sitting. And instead of just sitting inactively, why not do a stretch? Why not build some mobility and flexibility? So, as I said, we're stretching hamstrings, glutes. There are 22 muscles in the hips that support the hips. So there's a lot of muscles to stretch, and there's a lot of joints that are moving in the hips. And we want to work all of those in different ways. For some people, this stretch might work really well. For other people, they might not feel too much. You just have to experiment with these different stretches. Whatever you're doing, with all these stretches, there are a couple of common denominators. As I mentioned, a longer hold time than what you might be used to with stretches, 2 to 5 minutes in each stretch. And we have another principle of stretching, of long hold passive stretching, which is our breathing. Like to breathe in for a count of 4, through the nose and out through a count of 8 through the mouth. The reason we do this is to relax the stretch reflex. It helps us get more deeply into the stretch. So why don't we start doing that breathing now, and then I'll chat a bit more once we've got that pattern going. So we breathe in for 4, and out for 8 with kind of a ha sound, like you were fogging a mirror. In for 4 through the nose. And out for 8. Okay, gently take your right leg off of your left leg. Come down, you can punch it out a little bit above and below. If you felt that, you're probably going to feel a little bit of that stiffness, a little bit of soreness there in that hip joint, and as I said, some stretches in the glute and hamstring. Let's go to the other side. Remember, we're going to have that right leg now. Ideally, heel is under the knee. If you're not quite there yet, move your heel out so that your leg's not quite as high. You want to gently lift your left leg this time. Give a little support to the knee. Click it in there. Ankle clicks right in above the knee. And then you're sitting up pretty straight on your bench or on your chair. And your knee may be up like this. However you need to be in order to feel that stretch, go ahead and put yourself there. If you're feeling good, if you're feeling a little more mobile, let your knee float down. And if you're feeling good in the stretch, go ahead and lean forward. Don't hunch over, as I say. Bring that chest out over your legs, over your feet, and you can rest your elbows on top of your ankle and your knee. So, in doing the mobility challenge, I had some feedback from people who said, and by the way, let's start our breathing. I'm going to talk, but you do your 4 in, 8 out breathing while we're doing this. I had some conversation from people who said that they couldn't do it. I can't do these stretches. When I go into this stretch, I have to sit like this. My hips just don't work like that. I can't do it. Your hips don't work like that because you haven't worked them like that. So the whole point of these stretches, of this mobility practice, is to regain mobility that you have lost. Obviously, all of us have different ranges of motion naturally. Some of us are more flexible than others, and some of us are more flexible in certain movements than we are in other movements. We're not all going to be the same, but all of us can improve our movement to the maximum point of our natural ability. So don't get stuck on this idea that I can't do this stretch. Because you can't lean forward the way I am in the stretch doesn't mean you're not doing the stretch. However you are in the stretch, where you're feeling that 7 out of 10 intensity and you're feeling the stretch, that's where you should be, and that's where you start. And once you start there, you'll find that you regain that mobility over time. So the fact that you can't do the stretch, that my hips don't work that way, I'm way up like this, that's the very reason you need to do the stretch. So don't get caught up on that. Just do the best you can, and slowly over time, you'll begin to regain that mobility. The thing about stretching and mobility is it takes a fairly long time to regain. It can take probably 30 to 60 days before you start seeing measurable changes. And then it can take several months, even up to a year, until you've really started to get up to whatever your natural maximum mobility, your natural flexibility is. However, once regained, it tends to stay with you. So the nice thing about it is that those gains they don't immediately recede if you stop doing stretches every day. My goal for all of you is to do these stretches 10 to 15 minutes a day. 10 to 15 minutes a day of long hold passive stretches will help you regain and maintain the mobility that you want to have as you get older. So let's do our breathing here. We breathe in for 4 and out for 8 as we finish up this stretch. All right, that's 3 minutes. Maybe I should have done 4 minutes on each side. That was pretty short, but you now have the basic principle of how to do this seated pigeon. And I encourage you to do it when you're sitting, when you're, waiting for someone, when you're on the phone. It's an easy stretch to do. It's a very gentle way and a gentle introduction to getting some of this lateral hip rotation, that is the rotation to the outside. There's also a little bit of flexion, right? You're flexing forward with your leg when you're doing this stretch. So it's a nice stretch. It's a less intense stretch, but it's a nice one. Thanks for joining, and good luck with your stretching. Bye-bye.